Robin Myers. And someone recorded Representative Sally Kern making vile homophobic comments at a recent Republican fundraiser. She thought no one would hear her but the hardcore faithful. Now it's another national embarrassment for Oklahoma, and her defense is as ludicrous as her tactics are shameful. That she is entitled to her opinion and that any and all anti-gay rhetoric is automatically labeled hate speech. It is frightening for me to consider that Sally Kern is an elected official doing the people's business and has no idea what the difference is between First Amendment freedoms of expression and hate speech. Or maybe she does know but doesn't care as long as it works. That's the way we've been doing politics in this country for a long time now. You find the enemy and then you use fear and loathing of the enemy to gain political advantage. That needs to stop on all fronts. I join with the GLBT community in saying to Representative Kern that the hardworking, patriotic, decent, law-abiding Oklahoma citizens who are gay or lesbian are not the enemy. So I stand in the People's House to express my outrage on behalf of all the religious communities in Oklahoma who are outraged at this incident, and the idea that to be a Christian is automatically to be anti-gay. First, as painful as it is for me as a minister of the gospel to hear Representative Kern make the assumption that all Christians view homosexuality as a sin, she does indeed have that right, First Amendment right. A handful of passages in the Bible do indeed condemn homosexual activity as idolatrous, along with a long list of other prohibitions we now consider primitive, superstitious, and non-binding, like wearing clothing with two kinds of thread, which of course makes almost all of us in this room into sinners, and stoning to death a son who talks back to a father. That's in Leviticus. As the father of two sons, I've been tempted to take this passage. Thank God I never did. Those who wrote the Bible knew nothing about sexual orientation, however. And the ethic of love and compassion surely trumps dietary laws, women as the property of men, and the embrace of slavery, all of which are solid biblical principles. Yet again, Representative Kern has the First Amendment on her side if she chooses to be a selective biblical literalist. But my reason for standing before you today is more than just to talk about this from a religious standpoint. I want to talk to you about it from a language standpoint. Representative Kern insists that her words do not constitute hate speech, but that indeed she is being unfairly condemned for having an opinion to which she's entitled no matter how loathsome it is to the rest of us. But if Sally Kern does not know or understand what words do and how language functions to signal violence against the other, she needs to go back to school, but not back to teaching school. Three obvious and chilling reasons why her anti-gay tirade constitutes hate speech. Number one, she compares gays to terrorists and says they constitute an even greater threat to our nation than terrorists do. Never mind for a moment that there are gays and lesbians serving in the armed forces of this country currently in harm's way in the fight against terrorism. Just think for a minute what this sordid analogy really means. Our president says about terrorists, we're killing them over there so we don't have to kill them here. If the appropriate response to a terrorist is to kill him or her, what then is the obvious response to someone worse than a terrorist? Number two, Kern talks about a homosexual agenda that targets children as young as 2. We all get it. Homosexuals are all pedophiles and can't be trusted around our children. The code of ethics in prison with regard to pedophiles is well known and widely shared in our society. If another prisoner kills a child molester, the attitude is, well, there's one less child molester. What then should we do with gays? Number 3, Kern compares homosexuality to a cancer in part of the body. It should not be ignored, she says, just because it's contained and located in your foot. We get it. Cancer spreads. And if you don't do something about it soon, it kills you. What then do we do when we find cancer in a part of our body? We cut it out. We eradicate it. We sometimes even amputate an infected limb, anything to protect the rest of the body. What then should we do with homosexuals if they are like cancer? Sally Kern is doing politics in a way that sickens many of us. Sickens us. Whenever you signal violence against any group of human beings, as did the Nazis when they called the Jews vermin, then you are doing something reprehensible. If anyone said these things about white, Christian, heterosexual, Republican women and compared them to terrorists, pedophiles, and cancer, you can bet Sally Kern would call it hate speech. The question is, what shall we do? Silence is a form of complicity. If we do not condemn such hate speech from an elected public official, we essentially endorse it. If we do not say to the nation, which looks at Oklahoma and often sees repeated examples of ignorance and bigotry, then what are we saying? That we're proud of being ignorant and bigots? We talk about being a big league city. How about an effort to become big league human beings? I call upon the Speaker to condemn Representative Kern and the Governor and every conscientious member of this House to do the same. I call upon Representative Kern to apologize to all of us for speech that is unbecoming of an elected official and misrepresents the state of Oklahoma in a way that is deeply offensive. Thank you.